What did you... Oh, shit, my contacts! Oh, a hairpin.
Oh.
Never mind.
So, remember the king was like, ooh, the queen lost her royal hairpin. Like, which is weird because she protects that with her life.
Hey, remember the nuns? How they were creepy before? Well, they're creepy now, too!
If I recall correctly, this is actually based on, like, a real-world myth, too. Like, that there are these snakes that will disguise themselves as maidens and then lure young boys into the woods. So that's a little valid mythology for you.
There's some sort of crazy weeaboo thing for that, I think. Like, ah, man.
Yeah, you kind of weaken them a little bit.
I know Nagas themselves are like a fixture of myth.
You guys aren't gonna take a couple steps closer? Nothing? There we go. I think that's... Oh, fuck, whatever.
Nope. Come on.
Yeah, dual text will help you cut through the enemies really fast then.
Like, honestly, if I were to see Chrono Trigger done today, sequences like this would probably be real time, and they probably have... I'm not gonna say God of War combat stylings, but it'd be pretty similar, I think.
Oh,
You know,
I think that this combat style kind of works for it. I guess.
Well, yeah, it absolutely works for it now, but like if you were to do it today, like you'd be able to engage your players more directly.
With the way that proximity and stuff works, I think real time would work out fine. I guess.
Well, honestly, it's halfway to real time if you don't choose wait mode.
Yeah. I haven't played that much Elder Scrolls, but I understand that that's kind of how the combat system there works. Like you can kind of wait for the right moment to attack when someone slashes their sword, they lower their shield or whatever. Like that's kind of I to my understanding that's how it is, but I'm not super familiar with it. And
Elder Scrolls is typically first person, so I have a whoa! Neato.
Lower thine God, and thou art allowing the enemy in. So
smooth.
This frog motherfucker is the only guy in 600 AD who talks like he's ye olde medievally.
Well, he's got like a thing, like it's explained.
He has a lisp because he's a frog.
Oh, he has a thing, but I don't want to say it. See, here Butts is being all indignant at the person who just saved us from the crazy demon
You know who it is?
lady.
It's Butts being a racist.
You said the R word.
Oh.
Antoids, we agreed. We agreed on some specific things that I'm totally not making up now.
So yeah, so you can be like, I don't want to go with the frog. But
yeah,
go with the frog.
I don't like frogs.
Oh, well, I named him Frog, so he's Frog now. I wasn't thinking about it.
See, you should have named him like Clyde. Because that's so impersonal. Oh man, look at that arm. That arm is as big as the rest of him.
He's got like an Earthworm Jim arm.
When he flexes, do his arms ribbit? Is it all air?
Look at this Chrono, fucking masterful organ player. I don't know how often that skill comes in handy in 1000 AD, but he's got it.
Well, okay, hang on. If you take a look at Chrono as a character, right? He's silent, he carries a sword around with him for no reason, he beats up robots, he picks up all the ladies at the fair. Like, Chrono's kind of a macho man, and now he's a musician? I'm sorry.
Looks like someone's a Mary Sue. No. I like Chrono. As a template character. Like I think he's a really good one.
What I'm trying to say is that Chrono is alpha as fuck. Look at this dude.
Like being slightly more serious. The kind of situations Chrono is put into are the ones where he kind of has no choice but to go along with his destiny, and that's a really fitting position for a player avatar to be in.
Speaking of destinies, like, that's also a much better way to do the whole "you are a destined hero" than, say, Legend of Zelda, where they tell you repeatedly that you are the hero of legend and you don't really do anything that any other motherfucker on the street could do.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, Chrono is just kind of like, he keeps getting put in these situations where he's like, I guess I gotta do this now.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of forced my hand. Like, he gets...
The storytelling there is really solid.
It's really good, and I think it's actually thematically appropriate, too. Like, again, we're still kind of in the early stages. I think by the end of this recording session, we'll be able to talk about it a little more. But,
yeah.
The game kind of plays with the themes of inevitability versus agency, like, what is fated to happen versus, what humans can impact. And Chrono is a really good example, especially early on, of, like, a character who's just forced into, this situation. Like,
speaking of which, have you been picking up equipment this whole time?
Yeah, I have, and I've been trying to equip it as I get it.
Okay. Just throwing that out there and checking.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, this guy shows up and he is loaded for bear.
He's ready.
Frog knows his stuff, yeah. Get your slurp on there, Frog. Amphibious.
Woo! Alright, so I don't know if you're familiar with what a bromide is. I guess you might be because it's an art thing, but bromides are basically like, technically speaking, they're just like geisha style portrait, which means that they're porn. But in video games, like in video game terms, they're usually portraits of like the female characters in, suggestive positions.
Cheesecake.
And it kind of comes from this like famous RPG called Lunar, which had all these like, if you explore random places in the environment, you'll pick up these bromides, these pictures of the women folk. And I think this is a callback to that, because it was one of the Naga-ettes.
We'll do a little bit of research on that in the downtime between
recording. Yeah, we'll get back to you on this in like 5 episodes.
We're gonna pause. We're gonna go Google some bromides.
Yeah.
We'll be back.
All right. So this is definitely like reinforcing my idea that this game is deliberately balanced. Like, okay, so right now, I just learned Flame Toss right now, and that's a new tech. And against those henchmen, Flame Toss is like a one-hit kill for all of them. Like, it's a slightly bigger range than Cyclone, and it does just enough damage to kill all of them. And the next time we fight those guys, we're gonna be like, oh, let's try Flame Toss on them, and it's gonna work out really well. And, like, it's this kind, and like it's kind of like, oh, you had trouble with these dudes.
Sorry. The way that it wrote, "You're humans?" Like he was surprised. Like, you're what passes for humans these days? What? How long have I been in here? My God, the world is changing. You're like a dude, some chick with some stuff on her head and a frog.
Right? Yeah.
Like.
Alright, so this guy's like, hey, there's a room dedicated to Magus, and it's got some treasure in it. You want to find that if you can. Oh, Power Tap.
By the way, Magus is a bad dude.
Yeah,
bad.
He's one heck of a bad dude with attitude.
He could probably rescue the president from ninjas.
We'll find we'll find later, like, we'll find out more about him. He's a recurring character.
Oh yeah, he's the BBEG. Big bad evil guy. However, just as an aside here, I would like to say that one of my absolute favorite things that just got you into this fight is the fact that your cooperative characters follow with you, like in combat.
And they ran into them, yeah.
Like, rather than becoming one moving unit who has effectively 4 turns and aspects, per combat, you are actually 3 distinct characters.
Yeah.
Like, later on, there's some things that are influenced by, like, if Frog is hanging around or if you've got Marl hanging around.
Yeah.
There's each one of them is vibrant in some way and responds to whatever you're doing. It's really fantastically done. The only one who's around all the time is Chrono because, he's the protagonist.
Right, he's your self-insert. Now,
yeah.
One thing I want to say, though, like, I think that this game gets really touted for, like, its excellent, characterization and character development. I think that's, like, I'm probably going to get a little hate for this. I think that's erroneous. I think that Frog is, like, the only character we have in our party right now that experiences a lot of development. Like, we'll see as we go on, but I really think that, as great as Frog's story is, he's kind of the only one we've got right now that really experiences that, and we only get one more later on.
I
I
think on the surface level I'm going to agree with you because I don't really know better right now, but I think when people say the good character development, what I think they might mean is the tools that they use to convey character in this game are really strong.
I think that's absolutely true. Like, I think everybody is a really solid character. Like, they all fit their niche really well, and they all have, like, lots of little things that make them what they are. But as far as, like, character arcs and stuff go, I think that Frog and one of the other ones we get later are the only ones that really like experience those, that really have a progression.
So while we're in here with these henchmen who think that you're also henchmen, but in your human disguises because they're dumb as hell, I'd like to clarify what we mean by that, because this is our first go with this and we probably shouldn't assume a level of familiarity with anybody who might watch this. What Antoids is saying is that the arcs and the experiences that the characters go through might be a little stinted, and what my meaning is that the way that they go about explaining who these characters are by showing you who they are. Marl at the fair, when she's fawning over
really
Chrono,
well characterized at the fair. Like, you immediately get who Marl is. Like, she's like, hey, you wanna hang around at the fair with me? Yeah, sure, awesome. And she starts like jumping up and down. He's like, ooh, wait, I want some candy. Oh man, Chrono, you're so sweet. Like she really, she's this bubbly blonde, like, girly girl. Like, that's who she is.
She's little go get her, have fun person thing.
Like, and it's really like, I'm not saying like that these characters are flat. I'm saying they're static for the most part.
Yeah.
That's
I don't
the
mean
distinction that I'm making.
I don't mean to cast at you in some way. I just
no. It's good that you did, because I can kind of clarify my point a little. Because before I was just like, the character development's not that great, but they're static characters. That's what I'm trying to get at. That's the way to say it.
I'm not gonna let us pull a typical YouTuber where we say something and we're like, oh, that might be controversial, and then we back down from it. No, we'll talk about it. By the way, if you would like to continue this conversation, please like, comment, subscribe, blah blah blah.
There we go. We're not typical YouTubers at all. Anyway,
give us views.
So, one thing I want to point out, in the other room, the guards were like, by the way, there's a statue of Magus that has all this sweet loot around it. And this guy's like, I'm gonna check on that statue of Magus, before I continue. Like, before I go on my shift. So, you can kind of like follow him over there. I think that's a really neat way to like show secrets. Cuz you come into this room and you see this little offshoot here. And I don't think it's immediately obvious that it's a doorway. But
no, I had no idea until you pointed it out. Like, I was like, oh look, we found the queen! Yay!
Like, anyway, you see this little offshoot, like, And maybe you don't think it's a doorway, but this is the game's way of telling you, like, hey, sometimes we're gonna have doorways that, you know, go to the right instead of being really obvious stairs. Like, it just kind of hints at you.
Yeah, there's gonna be secrets, and there's gonna be some sweeto loot. Are you here to save the queen? Oh, thank God.
Oh, nice.
It's not me now.
I'm sure Yakra will be pleased. Why not rest until he's available? I'll get back to you on that. So yeah, these guys are basically like, hey, you know Magus? He's really awesome.
You have no idea how cool this dude is.
He's
I would sing the song,
god.
but I'm not musical.
He's basically their god. So, like, they're like, you know, as long as Magus is around, you know, nothing can hurt us. You know, we're the best. Like, all this stuff.
I want you to go and find the Soviet national anthem, or for the USSR, or whatever it was, and just play that over this scene. Ignore our commentary. Just, like, go back, do it. You got the kind of vigor. You know, the idea.
I'll go. I can do that in post. We'll see if I do it or not.
Yeah, but you got to do it after this and just loop back to it where you're walking.
It might be licensed. So the communists might have licensed their music.
Oh God, I'm sorry. Oh man, that's funny on several levels.
Come join us in singing your funeral dirge.
Oh shit. This escalated quickly.
Yes, it did.
Oh, you can thingy-mabobber all them demons.
Oh, they move. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. Settle down there, Sword of the North Star.
That is kind of the most intense, like, tech we've seen so far. Of Chrono lighting his sword on fire and then spinning. Like,
oh man, that's metal.
All these techs are like really cool in that way. And yeah, these Naga-ettes, they introduce you to the concept of slow. Where, you know, your meter builds up slower if they cast it on you. Like, they kind of introduce you to the idea that your speed is what affects how quickly that meter builds.
Mm-hmm. I would like to say, though, that Chrono just lit his sword on fire and spun around, and I'm sure Frog is a classically trained swordsman, despite his condition. So he's probably looking at this kid like, this dude is nuts. Jesus.
Yeah, Frog, you know, Frog's techs don't get crazy until he, like, really starts to mix up with people. Like, we just got one right now, and it's not crazy at all. Like, well, I'll show you how not crazy it is. Yeah, so when you try to leave, they're like, hey.
Oh, nice job rescuing the queen, dumbass. Great work.
This is the new technique we got. Just basically both of you cut him at the same time. Like, Frog's no nonsense.
And Chrono's like, come on, let me just light you on fire, and then we'll do it. Yeah. It'll be fun.
Like, you know, really, it's another, like, it's more like characterization, because any tech that Chrono's in kind of molds itself to the other person. So Luca's like, hey Chrono, you know what would be a really neat experiment to try out? Let's light your sword on fire and then have you spin around! And then Frog's just like, let's flank him.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I think it's like you said, like, it's good characterization. Like, everybody's archetype is really, like, really well displayed.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I know that I'm no longer 8 years old anymore, but this game is still fun to observe and to engage with the person playing it. It's just a fun thing to do. Now, don't Frog's attacks typically focus on dealing heavy damage to one enemy?
Yeah, Frog is a single target, big damage. Like, they all have their roles. I
would like to point out that that's also a little bit characterizing of him. You know, he's like,
Then
all
he's
right,
focused.
one thing at a time. Just focus down on
And
this.
then
We'll get it
he
done.
has
We'll move on to the
a-
next
yeah.
one. Whereas Chrono, being young and sporadic, is like, fucking let's light some shit on fire and spin around. Whoa!
Well, I think that that's more characteristic of Luca than Chrono, for sure. Like, Luca.
Okay,
like,
yes.
I don't think you can tell me for a second that Luca isn't the type that would say, scientifically, I think that if we light your sword on fire, it'll be hot, and thus be able to use like the properties of diffusion in order to split things more effectively. Like, I don't think for a second that Luca wouldn't be that way.
Let me try to convince you. Antoids. I don't think she'd do it. Did it work?
No.
Well, shit!
Good
I tried,
try,
though. You can't say I didn't.
Also, I guess we should talk about how we're getting these techs real quick.
By
basically,
leveling up?
Sort of. Like, we level up, and that does our stats. But, during combat, you get these tech points. They're labeled as skill points here. And, you know, every certain amount of tech points you get a new skill. And those are as carefully metered as experience. Like, they're another one of those, like, deliberate elements of design. Oh, this is gonna be good. I'm gonna get all four of them at once!
Oh!
It's only gonna kill the snakes. But, oh, it didn't even kill the snakes! I should have used the fire one.
You should have. By the way, I like how Butts comes back to the past and she just brings a gun.
Yeah, whatever.
What? The cavemen haven't seen that? Whatever. Just shoot some punks and establish dominance.
I think that was a situation in which I was supposed to use Fire Whirl. Like, I think that's teaching me, like, hey, you know, sometimes your single techs aren't gonna be enough.
Yeah, you gotta use that cooperative stuff.
Yeah. You gotta interact with other people socially. That's a neat little, like, because you can only use certain items when you're standing on the shelter, it goes ding, and it lets you know.
Huh.
I'm gonna save.
What if we appropriated that sound effect for our intro?
I don't think we're gonna appropriate any of them. I think that, like, it'll just, like, I think that we just gotta, like, emulate something that'll make it sound similar. We shouldn't even be talking about this because it's gonna be at the beginning of this fucking video.
You say that as though this is gonna be one part. We've been doing this for a while.
Oh, so we have
Episode 4. We talk about the intro.
I just want to say real quick, that's awesome. He, like, slides down the banister. Like, that's
he
super
looks,
good.
steps back, and then decides to slide down. Just
yeah.
Metal. I'm just saying that. Oh, man. That Mad Bat doesn't look particularly mad. It looks mostly confused.
Well, maybe it's crazy.
I think it just can't see very well.
Yeah, so, okay, no, wait. Those bats have really high evade, and they are also used to teach you a lesson. Hey, something happened. Oh, I forgot to go into that room over there.
On the left-hand side of the screen.
Yeah, the spikes on the left went down, and they were blocking your way to something. That's what that switch did. And, you know, even if you didn't go into that room, you can totally see it from this room.
So, I guess since we're in yet another fight, I know that we touched on that whole art game thing, and a lot of them tend to shy away from, you know, robust combat systems, or really combat systems in general. And I think that the way that a lot of people meter games as avoiding some sort of violence and making them some sort of better product at the end of it is kind of folly. I mean, there are a lot of books and, you know, paintings of depictions of strife and struggle. Mm-hmm. But the thing with a video game is that the way that it delivers the narrative and the story to you is that is a necessity. Like, there's no convenient Rocky montage where he's going to do a lot of training. You have to go out and do the training so that it's real for you.
Yeah, it's definitely a way to meter progress.
Yeah, so all of this combat that we're engaging in right here is entirely purposeful. Like, don't think for a second that any of this is something that shouldn't be, or that
Like,
you could cut down on if you wanted to make an artsier version. It's necessary.
Like, right now, it's kind of running us through the crash course of the mechanics, but the combat definitely does go to enforce the themes later on. And this one right here is like, oh, you know, enemies can reposition you. Fucking deal with it.
Nerd! I enjoy saying that.
Yeah.
Ooh. You know what? Frog should be in the next Smash Bros.
Oh man, that'd be really nice.
Or Chrono, like all of his different moves could use his partners or his Smash Ball. If
There's
they
a
keep
lot
that
of things.
mechanic.
There's a lot of things that should be in Smash.
Yeah, most of them are not Sonic.
I had a friend in high school who was like, you know who should have been in Smash Bros? Boo. I'm like, you know how many Mario characters there were in Brawl?
Like, are we talking about the Ghost or Majin Buu? Since we got the DBZ artist all up in this.
Alright, so this is what I'm talking about with, like, how the game gives you Fire Whirl, and then it, like, immediately inclines you to use it on, like, because you know from the previous battle that these guys are hard motherfuckers. Like, it's gonna take a while to take them down. But with that Fire Whirl, just, no problem.
Yeah. The minute that you get a problem, you also get the solution, and it's also encouraging you to experiment. Because the first time that you do that exactly, you're gonna sit back in your chair and you're gonna be like, "That was awesome. That was
do it again."
easy."
Hey, also pushing switches, never bad.
Ever.